Welcome everyone to HogvilleNET YouTube Live. I'm your host, Kevin McPherson. It is an afternoon, really pushing into the evening. We're pushing the 6 o'clock hour. High school football across the state tonight. Of course, the Razorbacks football kicks off the season tomorrow, home against Alabama A&M. We've already addressed some of that already, but it's basketball for season two, especially when we look at recruiting season. Arkansas officially now underway with its fall visit roster. Caleb Holt, national number two, how I have him ranked, five-star guard. Huntsville, Alabama native, now at Prolific Prep. What was my tweet about earlier? It wasn't about the Hogs. It wasn't anything negative about the Hogs, and it wasn't anything negative about me or my personal situation. I'll let that be cryptic for a while. I might speak on it later, but thanks for asking. I did put a little notation with that GIF or GIF, however you say that. I put a PSA out, not hog related, so it's all good there. But we've got Caleb Holt already on campus, and I already have feedback. I'm already getting feedback from more than one about how this visit's going. That's what we're going to talk about, among other things, today. We didn't have time to come on this morning. I've had a day full of appointments, meetings. It's been a great day as far as my personal life, but it's taken away from us getting on here. But at the same time, I knew Caleb Holt was coming in today, and I was hoping to get some feedback. So this is perfect timing, actually. It's better that we're doing this now than had we come on earlier. We got some more information for you on upcoming visits, some other stuff related to Arkansas recruiting and current players. I missed some of those comments, but thanks for commenting. Appreciate everybody that's here. All right, let's get started. Caleb Holt put out a photo from Fayetteville with, he did the thing where he pins the fact that he's in Fayetteville. And then you see a photo of a wall with a TV screen, a monitor, and his likeness is on there in an Arkansas Razorbacks uniform, and it's got his name. And so I took that photo and tweeted it. I screenshot it, put it out on Twitter. But I've also used it as the thumbnail introducing this segment today. So we know, that's Exhibit A that Caleb holds on campus. I've already gotten feedback from not one, but two folks that are directly involved in the visit. So this isn't third hand from someone who heard something about the visit. These are folks directly involved in it. I cannot tell you who it is. I made that promise, but more than one, two. And this is what I got from one person directly involved in the visit so far. This is a vibe check, the Caleb Holt visit at Arkansas. I got a one-word response. Good. Okay, that's better than the alternative. It's good. The other one was even better. It was a few more words, but it was visit vibes are great. Exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. So I got 3 exclamation points. Visit vibes are great. I got another one that said good. You add it up. You're closer to great than you are good because of the extra exclamation marks with the great, right? I've got my own science here. Just help me out with this. But it's Friday. He just got there. The meat of the visit will be tomorrow. You're going to have basketball practice. You're going to attend the football game for however long he's there. There's a lot of other stuff that goes on. The biggest thing is sitting down with Calipari and going through the vision. Why should you be Arkansas? Calipari's got the best track record getting guys to the NBA, especially lately with guards when you really look at it. You can make a case for any position group, but especially with Calipari, it's not hard to do. He doesn't have to strain or stretch to tell that story. And I think the thing we've talked a lot about Caleb Holt, we've talked about it for months, was this idea that he's transitioning not just as a two guard, which I think he's the most gifted natural two guard in this class, but doing a lot of on ball, creating for others, playing in that initiate offense through the dribble handoff or two-man game, and then use your creativity to get your own shot or set somebody else up. And it's perfect. And I think the biggest selling point for Calipari is to show even his recent track record, not just the long rap sheet of getting guards. John Wall, who just recently retired officially. I mean, that's just one name out of so many. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander just got MVP. I mean, that's really a shooting guard that on the NBA level has gotten his game to the point where he runs everything. Everything runs through him. So he's a scoring guard, really. Facilitating is not his strong suit, but it's something that he's able to do because of his own creativity to get his own. And he's a lead guard. There's so many examples at the highest level that Calipari can sell, but one of them that I would use would be some stuff that's actually current, has happened recently. Just at Arkansas last year, Boogie Flan goes down. DJ Wagner, who was kind of playing more off the ball at the time, transitions nicely as a lead guard. You go back to his last year at Kentucky when you had Reed Shepherd, Rob Dillingham, even Reeves, Antonio Reeves, and DJ Wagner. He was a true freshman with those other two true freshmen who went in the lottery after that one and done season. All four of those guys, I covered the SEC. I covered their game. I was there for the game against Arkansas and Fayetteville. All four of those guys took turns initiating offense, the offense running through them. They only took turns. It wasn't game-to-game turns or because of injuries. It was in-game that they were taking turns at different times, and you figure out what works, and then you got guys that can do multiple things and complement each other. And so a guy like this, there's a lot to sell to him on this visit, and it's already going well. Again, most of what happens is going to happen tomorrow. That's going to be the biggest part of it. But so far, so good. Again, visit vibes are great. 3 exclamation points to follow, and another source that just gave me the one word. It's good. Good. So, and again, these are not third-hand reports. These are folks directly involved in this visit, the people that are in the visit, not on the periphery. All right. So can't name them, but later we might be able to do that. Just can't now. So that's great. That's great. This is the first of a bunch of fall visits that are upcoming. The end of August, here we go. Technically, we don't have a scheduled visit for next weekend. We're going to talk a little bit more about that and what that looks like it's likely shaping up to be, if not certain. And then after that, you get to mid-September, that quickly, a couple of weeks out now, and you've got the big man, the 7-footer, Erfan Diani coming in. Back-to-back weekends after that with two more in addition to Caleb Holt, who I've got ranked second. How about a tie with Jordan Smith Jr. as the second best player in the country? Both of those guys, Jordan Smith Jr. is scheduled to come in September 19th to the 21st. Tay Kenny, another 5-star guard. We've gone through all the talking points to wrap up September, the 26th to the 28th. By the way, after this weekend, that'll be the next time the football Hogs host a game at home, a home game, host a game. And so Kenny will be there for the fan experience, probably a different experience with Notre Dame being the opponent. Not that there won't be some good stuff going on in Fayetteville tomorrow at the stadium with Alabama A&M. But just remember, the fan vibe actually starts today. He's on campus. He's in town. They'll go out and have dinner. They're going to see fan. You know how it is on football weekends. The fans are out. It's even more pronounced, obviously, when you're in season in any sport like football, basketball, and to some degree baseball, because it draws big crowds too. But so he's already going to start soaking up that fan vibe today before he ever gets to the stadium. You know, I can't wait to get reports back on the thought process with how practice went off, basketball practice while he was there. So many things to look forward to. The sit down with Cal and the staff. There's just so much that goes into these things, and it's just a great time to have the number 2 player in the country on your campus with more 5-star, top 5 rated guys to come. Boom, boom, boom. We went through those dates. Cole Clower, top 25, 6'7" wing, going to be the first weekend of October. That'll be a bye week for the football team. So most of these visits are not lined up on a football fan atmosphere kind of weekend. This one is, and again, Tay Kenny at the end of September. Brandon McCoy Jr., who we've been talking about for over a week, that Arkansas was efforting a visit. And then we got to the stages, it was either yesterday or the day before I came out here and confirmed that it's beyond efforting, and now it's getting into the finalizing a date. And we said that it was looking like it was likely to be September, that it was headed toward a September date. And then we go through the talking points of last year, and so far this year, the way the schedule looks, there are no overlapping official visits. Every official visitor gets their own weekend, and then you look and see, did they bring in any unofficial visitors like they did last year from other classes or that kind of thing? Someone in to help recruit like a J.J. Andrews. All that's going to play out, right? We'll learn more. But every official visitor's had their own weekend. But I was told that they might deviate from that if needed. But so far, because we've seen what's gone public, there is no overlap. Everybody's got their own weekend. The only open weekend in September then is the one that's coming up after this weekend. Brandon McCoy Jr., another top 5 rated 5-star guard out of Los Angeles, is the one that we're hearing is likely to have a September visit date. And if they keep with the process they've had, the only time to slot that would be next weekend. So that's coming up really fast. You got Caleb Holt now. We're already looking ahead. I think that's probably the most likely scenario if it's going to be kept and made to happen in September. You could overlap it with other visitors, but I don't know that you're going to have two 5-star guards on campus on the same weekend that may be very similar position-wise. Darius Cup Jr. was already committed. He's your lead guard, and he's recruiting Malik Thomas, who's a 2-guard. Brandon McCoy Jr. is kind of a combo. Caleb Holt, who I would call a more natural 2-guard than anybody right now in that 26 class, is showing capabilities of maybe playing a lot more on the ball and being a combo. We just went through that. We've talked about it before. Then you look ahead at guys like Tay Kenny, more of a lead guard. Jordan Smith Jr., part of the pitch to him is transitioning him to a lead guard, not just being a combo, not playing as much, not always playing strictly off the ball on the offensive end. So you might not bring a McCoy in when you're having other guards on campus. That's kind of my thought. If you overlapped anybody this month, maybe it would be Deanne, a big man, and try to, leverage, a sales pitch to both of them, how they could help each other in dribble handoff scenarios and other things where it benefits both of them. So that's just kind of my speculation as to how, if you were ever going to decide to overlap those OVs, how you might try to do it. But for now, let's keep an eye on next weekend. We might learn something pretty quickly. Brandon McCoy, if it's going to be September, I think we'll hear about it fast because that weekend comes up again. If not, maybe they push it out. Something else. We also talked about, don't rule completely out the idea of a midweek visit. Not as ideal, but sometimes the way scheduling works, players are taking other visits. You get the picture. So things are starting to really rip off the cuff now and starting to get some momentum. I have more intel for you. I have a source that I spoke with yesterday after we'd been on. We came on really early. And there's a conversation with Calipari. And we keep saying, and Calipari keeps saying, and we keep reemphasizing this, the high school part of it now, 3 or 4 players, 3 or 4. They've already got J.J. Andrews committed, first 5-star in the country off the board to Arkansas back in mid-May. So if you subtract 1 from 3 or 4, that changes the phrase to 2 or 3 moving forward for this class. 3 or 4 in general, but you got 1, so 2 or 3, right? I am told that Calipari's process for this 26 class and his thought process is, if it's the right combination of players, this could expand to 4 or 5 as opposed to 3 or 4. So you subtract JJ from 3 or 4, you're talking 2 or 3 more. Subtracting from 4 or 5, you're back to that 3 or 4, but that would be 3 or 4 more in addition to JJ. So that's confusing. Let me just say, in theory, you could have a 5-player class of the high caliber front end guys, because we know you can add more of the guys that are developmental, long-term. Those are freshmen too, if they're coming out of the high school ranks, but you're not really counting them in terms of that next team and that next roster, what you're really counting on to be part of your 2-deep rotation. And this one could, if it's the right combination of players and it falls the right way, there is a pathway to get there. So that's what I'm told from a source who's effectively sharing that from gathering that on Calipari's thought process about what's going on now. That's not to say, again, we've gone through all of these players and we've gone through all of this in terms of who's really the leader. You might have a source here and there that thinks Arkansas is, but if you add it up, like with Deanne, for example, more that think it's Houston. With Tay Kenny, more that think it's Louisville, and then maybe Arkansas's running shotgun there. More Duke prognostications and even Georgetown from my sources than I've got for Arkansas. So but what have we come back and said? We've said, okay, some of that may or may not be true, but even if it is, at the end of the day, this is John Calipari, and he's bringing in enough guys, counting J.J. Andrews, 10 players, 5 dates that we know about. One of those is going down now with Caleb Holt. We went through the other ones, Deanne, JSJ, Jordan Smith Jr., Tay Kenny, and then Cole Clower. Another one that I know is finalized. I know the dates. He hasn't put them out yet, Abdu Torre. By the way, he's supposed to be visiting Providence this weekend. And so there's another one. So that's 5 that we have gone public, plus him, that's 6. 2 more that I know that they are working to finalize if they have not gotten them finalized already. I have one source that thinks Baba Aladat may actually be finalized with Arkansas on a visit date. It's just not out there yet. What I was told is they're working to finalize, not trying to get him to visit, but everybody agrees he will, working to get it finalized. One source thinks may actually have it. So there's another one. That gets you to 7. Then you got 8 with Chase Foster, where I've reported multiple times from sources they are working to finalize his visit date. The 6'8 Ford, Baba Aladat in 6'10, reclass from 27 to 26. So the numbers keep growing. And then you reverse and throw McCoy in. If they back him in closer to the front, and it's next week, and there's the 9th guy. And then again, J.J. Andrews being 10. I think my math is right there. 5 plus 1 is 6, plus 2 more is 8, plus McCoy's 9. And then we put J.J. I mean, he visited back in December, but he counts. He's part of this class, and he was the first of the official visitors, really, when you think of it from that standpoint, from this class. They had where we're picking up now is much later, but it doesn't matter. The math is still the same because you don't discount JJ. The other thing becomes then what I was told, the staff told me, and we've talked about on one of these segments, JJ is apparently helping recruit everyone. That's what I was told. So if that's the case, should we expect to see him pop up on some of these weekends where they got some of these guys coming in? I mean, he was teammates with Gianni in a couple of different platforms over the summer. He was teammates with Mikael Miinan, who took his visit a year ago, but Arkansas sending Chin Coleman, the last I heard, associate head coach overseas for the Euro Cup that's going on, Eurobasket. He's already taken part in that, and Arkansas is going to be there to make sure that he knows that they're there and they're still prioritizing him. But J.J. Andrews and Mikael Miinan teamed up for that Nike E16, not the recent Peach Jam title, but the year before, the prior year. That year, Mika won MVP. This year, it was J.J. Andrews. So you got all kinds of stuff in play with the J.J. Andrews factor. But again, I like what I'm hearing. I don't have a problem. I don't think you should get half of your roster from the high school level and count on that to be, your heavy ammunition going in year and year out. If you go 5 out of this class and on front end guys, you're basically getting half. That's basically would be half because you're really only going 8 or 9. He's talked about Calipari well, and the 10th guy knows he's the 10th man, which means there may not be, a predictable role right away. So if you get to the point where you've got 5 of these guys at your front ending, and whether you even have to wait on some of them until the spring or not, but you're putting your eggs in those baskets, that's an increase and a bit of a gamble when you look at the formula that he's talked about, 4, and then 2 out of the portal. So, but I think I understand it if you could get the right combination, why you might escalate that by 1. That's just interesting. It doesn't mean he's going to do it. It doesn't mean that Calipari's determined to do that. It's not to say that he's changed his philosophy. I think you have to look at every recruiting class based on the merits of that class and how you envision players helping you and what you can get out of that. And you then have to think about, well, what retention is realistic for us off the current roster? Because that's a big part of it. He says, I want to get 4 back. I think he's proven that the portal is the least of his, resources in terms of how he wants to build a roster. It's the least of that, right? I mean, obviously, so far. I don't know that he's going to change direction on that. And I don't know if he'll get to where the combinations are right for him to get to 5 here. But it's interesting to hear that and to see that is on the table and a possibility. There's a lot of good comments coming here. I want to thank everybody for that. Appreciate that. I do a horrible job of getting to those. And thank you for joining me on HogvilleNET YouTube Live. We're pushing up to a 20-minute mark here. We're not quite there. I'm Kevin McPherson. Please hit subscribe. Looks like we got cut off there. Looks like we got cut off. Took a minute to get it to reconnect. And I was just about to say we're efforting to improve our product, and then we got dropped. So that was perfect timing, wasn't it? But I mentioned it episode or 2 ago. But since we started doing this, it's just been slow going on how we could ramp up the production value. I mean, it's my phone is what you get, and sometimes you get this glitchy stuff. I'm told that I'm going to have a lot more support in what we're going to do. I've always wanted to have graphics, be able to break down and go through video, game action stuff. Sometimes you just want to have a little fun and just watch highlights and talk about them. All that stuff. I've been lining up various guests that are ready to come on and be here, relevant basketball guests that all of you, a lot of these are household names in Razorback sports that are ready to go with me. And so at this point now, we're just trying to get set up so that we can do that. So I'm hopeful. I've told the folks that are promising me these things, and I'm talking about it. I don't want them to feel any pressure, but I'm going, I'm talking about on my live show. So that's what we're doing. So they're like, okay, talk about it because we're going to make it happen. So I don't know exactly what that's going to look like. I'm going to be in some training for some of that stuff, which I need to be. I need to get better at the technology, right? I own that. I own that. The content's second to none. It's way ahead. It's just the the way that it looks, the production value. Nah, we're probably scraping the bottom there. But we like doing this. We have fun with it, and we hope you find it. Each time that we come on, that's what we're here for. All right, so the Caleb Holt visit's going well. Mikael Miinan, I mentioned Arkansas having a presence going over for Eurobasket. This is very interesting because it was so quiet. He did not play spring and summer basketball here in the U.S. And he's already doing some eye-opening things at high levels. He's getting a lot of media attention over in Europe. I don't know if you're catching some of that. But this is a coveted guy. I saw some rankings that came out the other day for the current look at the current 2026 class, because he does play at Arizona Campus Prep, where he's expected to return, by the way, for next season, and that's on that Nike EYB Scholastic league where they have like 20 teams. But he's picked as the number one center. So this outlet thought of him as a center. They had Fangiani as the second best center. I really look at Mikael Miinan as just a very capable, versatile stretch four that at the college level, you probably will project 4.5. We've said that. That's only what we've said about him in terms of how it looks for college. For pro, maybe 3.4, but maybe 4.5 at the college level, and likely that. But the number one center, I had him ranked top 10 in my rankings that I did. So here's a guy we don't talk enough about. He's been kind of off the radar because of his absence in the spring and summer. And then his rating slipped a little bit because of that, but you're still a top 10 dude, no worse than top 15. You're still a 5-star, and you're still 6'10" with the ability to stretch the floor, real dribble drive, shot creation craft, knock down threes, play above the rim, finish lobs. He's a lob threat, either full court, half court, doesn't matter. He's a good rim protector. There are times I've seen him play really strong on the glass as a rebounder. Other times, fade maybe a little bit, but as he gets stronger and continues to develop and get better, he's a real force. And I understand why Arkansas is sticking in. Remember, Mika has the Hogs among his top 7 schools list that he put out, 5 or 6 weeks ago. But right now, that Euro Cup, we've been talking as a lead up. Maybe Arkansas goes. Then we confirmed a few days ago Arkansas plans to go. I told you who it's going to be this time. You got all that intel here. And now they're in the throes of that event, and it runs through mid-September. So let's keep our eyes open on just how he looks as a prospect in these competitive opportunities, because we hadn't seen a lot, and keep tracking it that way. Let's keep our eyes on, does Brandon McCoy sneak in next weekend, September 5th through the 7th, for a visit? That'd be back-to-back weekends with a top 5 rated, national top 5 rated 5-star guard. And at one point in time, Brandon McCoy Jr. was the number 1 player in 2026. Tyron Stokes overtook him, but he's not chopped liver. I think 247 Sports has him ranked 3rd in the country. You look at Caleb Holt, who's on his visit this weekend, it's 4th, 5th, or 6th based on all 3 in that order. I'm not sure which ones, but it's 4, 5, and 6 of the rankings. I have him second best. We know Jordan Smith Jr., who's coming up later in September, is ranked top 3 and no worse than top 5 with some of the services. So do you really think, what I keep saying is, do you really think Calipari is going to not grab one of these high-level guards, Tate Kenny coming in? You hear more and more maybe Arkansas's maybe a little further, maybe in the second slot behind Louisville, but maybe a little further from where Louisville's in than we thought even a week or two ago. But at the end of the day, Calipari's not going to strike out, not in these backcourt players, not with guys like Mikael Miinan, Baba Aladatin, Erfan Gianni coming onto campus, and even Chase Foster at 6'8", a frontline guy, a true power forward. He's not going to strike out bringing that many dudes with that quality and that quality of player onto campus. You look at adding another wing to J.J. Andrews, Cole Clower, Abdou Toure. Again, he's going to piece this together, and if it's the right puzzle pieces, the right combination, just one last time to say it, it could go from 3 or 4 to 4 or 5. Or I guess if you say 3 or 4, 4 is the cap, and you change that to 4 or 5, then 5's your cap, you could maybe get this to 5. I think that's on the table, and it's not unrealistic. All right. 20. Oh, goodness. We're almost to that 30-minute mark. I'm blind. 25 minutes. All right. We're 25 minutes. Minute for a second there. I thought it was 28. Let's go through this. I put this tweet out a few days ago, and then I wrote an article. I published an article kind of deep diving into this, and I meant to talk about it here sooner than I have because it was out there a couple of days ago. And the story I did, I think, was 2 days ago. But this CBK report, college basketball report, it's a Twitter account, but it ranked the top 30 sophomores in college basketball. And, I kind of broke that down and looked at it. But Arkansas has 2 players on it. Carter Knox at number 8, Billy Richmond III at number 29. There were 5 teams total that had multiple players, that had at least 2 players. I don't think anybody had 3, but there were 5 teams total that had 2 players: Arkansas, St. John's, Purdue, Washington, and Creighton. So each of those other teams also had 2 players on this list. It was really interesting. The top, or almost a third of the entire list, were made up of players in the SEC that were freshmen last year, going to be sophomores. So 9 out of 30, not quite a third, not quite 1 out of every 3, but pushing that. But at the top, man, Pettiford at Auburn, who withdrew from the draft, coming back to school, he's at the top of this list. Philon, the guard at Alabama that also tested the NBA draft waters, withdrew from that, returned to Alabama, so he'll be a sophomore, obviously. But he was ranked 2nd on this list. Boogie Flan, former Hog, ranked 3rd. We'll just blow right through that, right? Also tested the draft waters, also withdrew, but had also put his name in the transfer portal. We know the story. All right, 3rd on the list. I think they had Jaden Quaintance, who signed with Cal to Kentucky. Cal comes to Arkansas. He ends up at Arizona State, ends up entering the transfer portal, but he also blew out his knee at the end of the year, had surgery. The rehab part of that, he's projected to be ready for the season. You just never know how soon is he fully cleared, and is he, and then for players of all shapes and sizes, it doesn't matter. Their timeline can be different on when they're fully effective and when they get back to their old selves, if they ever do, but they typically do. But what does that look like? How much time? But this report doesn't worry about that. They've got, I think, him ranked 5th. So you had multiple. I think you had the SEC representing half the top 10, and that surprises nobody, right? It's the strongest league in the country now. So all of these lists that you see, this is just one example where you expect the SEC to, kind of be the, leading the way. We'll put it that way, leading the way. All right, we are going to get out of here under 30 minutes. I hope you liked the update. We already have intel, just as a capper. We already have intel on Caleb Holt's official visit to Arkansas. One source directly involved in the visit says good. Another source directly involved in the visit says visit vibes are great, with 3 exclamation points. I mean, I guess they could have said more, and we're going to learn more details, but we're just getting started. And it's great news to hear. I'll be in Fayetteville tomorrow. That's the plan. If I arrive safely, and I'll be leaving early in the morning. And so we're going to get as much content. I'll be covering football Hogs, obviously. But basketball will be on my mind, and I grind and get content out. And so we're going to get valuable content because that's all we do. Thank you for being here. Appreciate all of you. Be great in all your endeavors. If Caleb Holt commits tonight, we're coming back on live. Or anything else that we need to talk about that's breaking. We talked schedule the last time we were on, and the fact that your non-conference is pretty much finished now. You got 2 more games to figure out. We're still puzzled over, is Houston going to play in Newark? Arkansas and Houston in Newark or in Barclays Center. We've talked about all that. There's so much we get into. I don't care. I love the football season starting, but we got plenty more to say. Don Calipari and his Arkansas Razorbacks men's basketball team, and all things above: scheduling, prospects, current players, all these things. It's topical daily, and we're not going to stop. Until next time, appreciate all of you. See you soon.